Welcome back to Burnout Banter. Today we're tackling something that even the most capable professionals in architecture, engineering, and construction struggle with, but we rarely admit it. Boundaries. Whether it's the compulsion to say yes, the guilt of blocking time off, or emails pinging in after hours, boundaries are slippery and elusive in this industry. But here's why this matters. In a work-life balance statistics study by HubStaff, 60% of US workers report that they don't have clear boundaries between work and personal life. In the Science of People, 91% of professionals say burnout negatively impacts their work quality, and that relentless drive to overdeliver is often tied to our boundary issues. And in Fair Play Talks, only about 57% of people who quiet quit say their work-life balance improves when they start setting professional limits. Put simply, ignoring boundaries isn't just about personal discomfort, right? It's a productivity killer. When some of us in AEC hesitate to ask for clarity or say no to scope creep or block off focused time, we're not just burning ourselves out, we are reinforcing a system that expects unsustainable performance. So, if you are tired of feeling stretched too thin but aren't sure how to draw the line in a way that sticks, stick around. Let's reclaim what boundaries should really do, keep you in alignment, protect your energy, and make your yeses count. Hi, everybody. My name is Rachelle,
I'm Jeff.
and this is Burnout Banter. Before we jump in, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen so that you never miss an episode of our banter.
So I was going to ask you, Rochelle, when was the last time you tried to set a boundary at work? And were you able to hold it, or what made it hard to hold?
I probably try to set boundaries daily and fail daily, but I think it's a personal thing. I actually have a very healthy work environment. So I recognize that it's me when I say, oh, no, I can't get that done by this time, or oh, no, I will not be available. For example, as we're recording this right now, I'm supposed to be off this afternoon, and here I am recording this episode
It's to me.
outside of my working hours. And whose fault is that? It's mine. It's not like Jeff, you're forcing me. You didn't like kidnap me and say we're recording this podcast right now. You asked, "Are you available?" And I said, "Yes."
We did agree to release one podcast a month, so we have
We
nobody to
did.
blame but ourselves for that.
So that's what I mean. It's definitely a personal issue when I try to set a boundary. I don't not at least not now. This was an issue in my earlier career with other people violating my boundaries, but right now it is 1000% Rochelle not respecting Rochelle's boundaries issue. I'm curious about your answer to that same question.
Yeah, sometimes I have success with it. I do think I try to set boundaries. I don't know how many people like that. And it does tend to get me in trouble more often than not. I mean, I was just recently on a project where I just asked for a little bit clearer deadlines and project communication, and it was not well received. So
That's
I
wild.
know, I know. I think if people are used to, this is going to sound terrible, but manipulate other people to get them to do what they need to have them do, they don't like it when somebody says no to that.
I don't even know if that's a terrible thing to say. Like, there is so much, I'm going to put this in quotes, even though you can't see it, business psychology out there that is essentially just like how to manipulate the people around you to do things with you. That's exactly what it is. And of course, when those methods fail, people get upset. Or like when you expect someone, we talk about expectations a lot. When you expect someone to perform or function in a specific way at a specific time, and they push against that, there's going to be conflict there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think, if people don't have boundaries, right, you can get a lot done by taking advantage of those
Yeah.
people. and their lack of boundaries. So, whether it's a company doing that to people or people doing it to people, more often than not, it's probably people doing it to people because companies are just a conglomeration of people. They don't have a mind yet.
Yet.
So how often do you find yourself working after you've promised you'd be logged off for the day? Do you have a feel for like your average?
Daily, daily. But that's because I'm a crazy person that has like three roles that I'm constantly trying to balance. And even though they all overlap, like they're all in some way proposal related, it's impossible to do them all within the confines of a normal workday. So I am usually working a little bit before my official workday, and I'm definitely working a little bit after.
Yeah.
So constantly.
Yeah, it does happen quite a bit. And I think also we're not the best at estimating how long things take. So I may tell Angie I'm gonna be done in 15 minutes and an hour later I roll down and usually that doesn't go very well. But it was my own poor estimation of time that put me in that situation.
I'm so bad at that. So bad at that. Someone tipped me off once and I haven't tried it out, but there is an app called Goblin Tools, and I think it was developed for neurodivergent task management. But the idea is like you tell it what your task is and how long you estimate, and then it helps you realistically estimate how long that should probably actually take
Like
you.
a goblin
Uh,
tool.
Goblin Tools. I'm gonna test it out. I will report back because I
My
think I
I,
did that.
I didn't have a tool to do it. I've just heard that take whatever time you think and multiply it times three.
I have heard that as well,
Yeah.
and that's pretty reliable. So maybe this fancy tool just does that
It
behind the
just
scenes,
multiplies times three. It's a good
probably.
calculator,
And just
essentially.
has like a cute little goblin mascot, but whatever it takes,
I mean, if my calculator was shaped like a goblin, I might use it more often.
right? Gotta have some whimsy in your day to
Yeah.
day.
So we touched on a few reasons already, but why do you think high achievers struggle with saying no, especially in our industry?
I feel like we've been set up to fail at boundaries because we get this nice praise when we do things, which usually comes with going above and beyond, which usually comes with breaking some sort of boundary. I've stayed late, saved the day, whatever it is. And so we keep setting this bar higher and higher and higher and going back to just being a regular person. We don't either get the same level of praise or attention or validation. And so we have set ourselves up to keep chasing this ever higher and more impossible bar that just keeps burning us out. And
Yeah.
maybe it's a little bit of people pleasing in there for sure, but I think it's a culmination of a lot of those things.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's pressure. Most of it's probably self-induced pressure, but there's probably some company pressure too, or people pressure from outside sources put on you to do certain things or perform in a certain way that, may be at odds with us protecting our personal boundaries and saying no. If we say no to something, or who are we letting down? What are they going to think about us? Are we letting ourselves down? What are we going to think about ourselves in that
Right,
moment if we get that thing done?
right. That like
Michelle would have let me down if she said no to recording the podcast today. So I manipulated her into doing it.
I almost texted and said I can't handle this today and was like, no, Jeff will never ever let me live it down. Just kidding.
Which Jeff
This
probably would have
is
been like, thank God, can we do it another day too?
this is a safe space. We can punt if we need to.
Yeah. It's interesting because I was just at a Ripple Intent Breakfast Club meeting this morning. We were talking about culture. And so, how do you think like unspoken team norms and culture factor in undermining our boundaries?
Again, I think that goes back to like setting this bar. I have worked in many places where there was this big outward push for this work-life balance, work hard, play hard, you work really like you stay late to get your proposal out, then you get the next day off, whatever it is. Like there was a lot of written documentation about this, a lot of culture documentation about it, but in reality, that didn't exist, right? Like you got praise for working all night to get that proposal in, and then the next day coming in and getting started on the next one, or putting out this fire and jumping straight into the next one. Like we celebrate that. And so that becomes the real culture as opposed to it's almost like a shadow culture, like what the company wants versus reality. And I think that really messes with boundaries because that the company is saying, hey, you worked really, really hard for this. You made the deadline. Good job. Take some time to reset. We know you need that. But you also know your team is dealing with all these fires and expecting you to jump in and put them out. And so like, how do you put a boundary in there when you know what you need and what the company is saying they will support, but what your team really needs?
Yeah, I think for culture, it is interesting, calling it a shadow culture, but it's what you do, not what you say. That's what becomes your
Yeah,
culture, right? So we can say all these pretty wonderful things are our culture, but if the leaders and the people in the company don't act that way, then that's just nonsense. And the real culture is the way that they act.
exactly.
And I was talking to somebody and he said he used to work, we were trading horror stories, and he said he used to work at a company where, he'd stay at the office till midnight getting something done. And then the next day he, wanted to take off 2 hours early, and they were like, okay, great. Yeah, use your PTO.
No.
Yes. So, I think as leaders, right, we can set the culture by how we behave. And I think that's so much more important than, what we say.
Agree. I think we need to model the behavior that we expect from our team, whether you're managing them or not, right? Like even if they're just adjacent to you. And like we can't be responsible for other people, but we can be responsible for how we show up. And if you are showing up, it's not necessarily like a malicious thing, right? That Karen is showing up and staying till midnight and then popping back into the office at 6 a.m. and like just powering through everything because maybe that's what she thinks the company wants and needs from her, but it affects the entire team and that starts to drag down that culture and it starts to create that toxic shadow culture and we need
Yeah.
to break that.
Yeah. And, your new staff, your younger staff are going to see the behavior and model the behavior, just like with your kids, right? They see if I say don't do this and I go out and do it, my kids are going to see that it's okay to do that, even though I'm saying like don't do it. Or even if I say like I do this and it's a bad habit, right? Like they're still going to do it.
Exactly.
See me doing it. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. And I don't think people who push on our boundaries, that doesn't make them bad people. It's not their job to protect our boundaries. It's our job to protect our boundaries.
I
You know,
agree. I think there are like bad actors. I think there are people who push and push and push and squeeze as much as they can out of others. But I think, yeah, that especially like hustle culture has just created all of these people with unrealistic expectations of themselves and others, and that just continues to put pressure on all of us.
yeah,
And it's not intentional. They're not like going out and being like, I'm going to squeeze every last drop out of you, but that's what they're doing because they're doing it to themselves and they're expecting it of others.
yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I think we can help other people with their boundaries, but ultimately it's an individual thing as to whether you want to protect your boundary or not, or feel like you can, I guess.
Right. I mean, I'm sure we want to. It's
Yeah.
just that how do we do it?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think it would be fun to have some examples of like in certain situations, what could people say?
Okay, I like it.
So if you have some focus time scheduled in your calendar, which I do, and it gets trampled all over all the time,
Always.
how could you protect that, do you think? Like, what could you say to somebody?
My favorite, I have colleagues who literally write in the calendar, focus time, do not, do not, do not schedule. And I find that hilarious, but also sad that they have to do that. So
Yeah,
I guess in this situation, if I had done that and somebody was like, hey, I would like to schedule here, but it looks like you've got focus time, can you move it? Instead of saying no, because I think we've talked in the past about how no is sometimes negative, you can gently say, like, would love to connect with you on this or talk about this or whatever it is. However, I'm on a deadline or I'm working on this project or I need this time. Can we meet? And then suggest an alternate. That way you're
yeah,
not just being no,
yeah.
but you're giving a reason and shuffling.
Yeah, I think saying what you're doing that's so important, right? I didn't just block off focus time to sit here and twiddle my thumbs.
All right,
Um,
I'm gonna go play some video games. That's
yeah.
my focus time. No, I'm working. Leave me alone.
And proposing an alternate time is really important too, I think.
Because it shows that you're serious. You do want to continue this or have this conversation with them or connect with them. You just literally can't do it right now. So here's you extending that alternative.
Yeah, how could you delay giving somebody a response without avoiding it? So instead of sticking your head in the sand and hoping they'll go away.
I do this with emails all the time, and I'm trying so hard to be better. So what I've started doing is just sending a quick reply that's basically like, "Hey, I've seen your email," or "Thanks for sending this over. I want to fully dig into it and like provide a coherent response. I will either like get back to you later or can we like schedule time?" I try to like give them a little action item so they know like again, I'm serious about this. I'm not just like, "Hey, saw this, I'm putting it off." It's, "Hey, I saw this, I'm interested. Literally just don't have the capacity right now to deal with it. So I will get to you by tomorrow or give me 24 hours or what." Kind of the same way I would handle a meeting request.
Yeah. I like to do the same thing where I give people yes, I've seen this, so then they can stop worrying about, right? Like, did they see
Right.
it? Are they going to do it? Are they not going to do it? Right. So now I'm out of their head too, which is
Right.
important, right? Whereas if I
Yes.
don't say anything, I'm still living in their head because they wonder if I am going to help them out or not.
Well, then you
Uh,
start getting all the extra pings, like the follow-up email or
yeah.
just resending this to surface it in your inbox or circling back or the dreaded phone calls.
Or the team's message, hey, I just sent you an email. Yeah, cool. I saw it.
Yep, I will get back to you within
Or
a
there's
reasonable
probably people who didn't see it, and sending them a Teams message is important. But the other thing I like to do is yeah, give them a time where I'm going to respond, and I do it in such a way that usually I can beat it.
I do that too. Like, I will get this to you by next Thursday, and in my head, I'm like, Tuesday. I can do
Yeah,
it by Tuesday.
yeah,
But then it makes you look better.
it does make us look better. How about somebody's asking you to do something that's outside your realm of responsibility?
That one is so hard, and it happens to marketers all the time. No, I don't know how to run your social media. No, I don't know how to do an email marketing campaign. No, I don't do event planning. I've used a lot of creative ways to dodge that. Like, I think that's a great idea. Would love to talk to you more about this. I don't have the expertise to pull it off. Can we go talk to and either direct it to the person who does, or if we need like outside information or like an outside consultant, you're like, let's talk a little bit more and figure out what you need and how I can support you without like fully committing to it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if those are good ones. That one's really tough.
No, I mean I think you're right. Like trying to get them in the direction of the person who can help them, so that you're not
Right.
just blowing them off. Yeah, and just trying to be clear about, right, this is my role and this is that person's role and this is your role, and if we all work together, we can get it done. But if we all start stepping all over each other, it's gonna turn into a real mess.
Right? Or preemptively supporting people for requests that you know you're going to get a lot. Like, if you ask me for the logo more than once, I'm just going to set up a dedicated space where you can access that logo all by yourself. And I'm going
Yeah.
to give you that link and ask you to like pin it in your email or save it or bookmark it, and then you don't have to come to me again because that's not my job.
Yeah, how would you model? So, say somebody sends you an email after hours and you want to model good behavior as a leader. What might you say to that person without just ignoring it? Because I think we
Um,
could just ignore it, right? But I think there's a learning thing that could happen too.
I think it depends on whether it comes from up or down level. So, like, if someone above me sends that email, I am absolutely going to respond to it first thing in my working hours. I'm not going to look at that. And I'm going to train them that way. If it comes from someone who like reports to me, I will say thank you for the email. I noticed that you are working outside of your hours and like reinforce you don't need to do this.
Yeah.
Like I've gotten emails on the weekend from people who work for me, and I'm like, I just want to make sure that you don't have to do this. Like if you are having trouble getting things done within the amount of time you have during the week, like let's talk about it and make a plan because I don't want you working on the weekend. There's no reason for that. So again, I guess it just depends for me on who is sending that and why.
Yeah, and I think I might just reinforce too, right? Like I'll get back to you back when we're in working hours or something, right? Like when we're all supposed to be working.
Right. Like let's make a plan first thing tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah. I think another really important thing is to frame our boundaries in terms of support and not resistance, right? Like
Yeah.
I want to make sure I'm delivering a high level of quality, and the way that I'm doing that is by protecting this boundary so that I can do the best job for you. Not that
Right.
I'm trying to resist doing extra work or anything like that.
Yeah, I often say that there's only one of me to work on anything at any given time. And so if I have multiple tasks, like one of me needs to focus on one task at a time. I'll put you in the queue.
Yeah. So there's also a couple of prioritization tools that I think are pretty helpful when it comes to taking all the things we're being asked to do and figuring out what's most important and how we can protect our boundaries with those things. So one's
Excellent.
called one's called the Eisenhower matrix, and then another is like looking at effort versus impact. So in the Eisenhower matrix, you're gonna divvy your things up by urgency and importance. And so in the top left quadrant, you have the most urgent and the most important work.
Okay.
And those are things you want to do now. Then you have in the top right, you have not urgent, but also important. And those are things you want to schedule time for to make sure that you're getting to them. And then in the bottom left, you've got urgent, but not important. And that's a real opportunity to delegate if you have anybody to delegate to.
I'm having trouble picturing anything that is urgent and yet not important.
I think most of us spend a good chunk of our day doing things that are urgent and not important.
I mean, fair. It just seems like everything is always on fire all the time. So,
Yeah, but it's the level of importance that's really critical there, right? If
but if it
like,
wasn't important, it wouldn't be on fire, Jeff. What do I do?
yeah, well, I don't know if I agree with that. Like I could sit here and just manage my inbox all day and I feel like I never get anything done. Everybody else would probably say that those things are urgent, but are they really that important?
Fair.
I'm not maximizing my effectiveness during the day. Sitting in a meeting, right, that has nothing to do with me is urgent because I've been asked to do it, but is it really important?
True. True.
So
Fair
I
point.
think you have to be real with what's actually important, which is hard.
This is very hard.
And then not urgent and not important are your time wasters and distractions, and you should get rid of those. So that can be a good way to like break up what you have going on and help you have some clear boundaries during the day. And then essentially the same thing, right? The effort versus impact. If it's high impact, low effort, those are your quick wins. So you may
Right.
want to look at doing some of those. If it's high impact and high effort, those are major projects. Low impact, low effort are your fill-ins, do it if time allows. And then low impact, high effort are your time wasters, and you want to avoid or eliminate those.
True. Those sound terrible.
Yeah. So it can be, hey, you've asked me to do this and I've got these other things, like let's sit down and use this tool to prioritize what's really most important right now. And then I think it's really important to bring your boundary setting up and have it be a discussion within the office or in one-on-ones or whatever, right? So it becomes a shared conversation between two people, not just you thinking and struggling to maintain this boundary. Like if you and I have had a conversation that you're trying to do this, as a leader, I can hopefully help you figure out better ways to do that. Whereas if I don't know that you're doing that and it just feels like this struggle for you, it's hard for me to help.
Right. And even I would say not even just like manager subordinate relationship, but like
Yeah.
across team,
Yeah, peers.
very important to understand each other's boundaries
Yeah.
and support them.
The last thing I had was kind of a mini framework for helping us check our boundaries. So
Excellent.
it's called the 3P boundary check.
Love it. What are the three P's?
We're going to protect, we're going to preserve, and we're going to look at the possibility.
I love looking at the possibilities. All right. What are
So,
we protecting?
yeah. So, first thing is, what am I protecting? Like energy, values, time, focus, what's important to you? What are
Okay.
you trying to protect? And then you can look at what you're trying to preserve. Maybe I'm trying to preserve my marriage by having these boundaries in place. So, or quality or trust or self-respect, different things. So you can ask yourself, what am I trying to preserve with this boundary? And then the last thing is what's possible if I maintain this boundary. So by saying no to this, what am I actually saying yes to? It makes it easier to say no without having the guilt.
Yes. I love that because then you're not necessarily saying no to something, you're saying yes to something else.
Which you're saying anyways, but by
Yeah,
getting clear on what that is, it hopefully helps you say no instead of turning your back on that thing that you do want to do.
exactly. Protect your yeses.
So, what am I protecting? What am I preserving? And what's possible if I maintain my boundary? So,
Ex-
getting really clear on your why. Why is this boundary important? It makes it easier to explain it to other people. It makes it easier to uphold.
Perfect. I feel like that's really important because so often boundaries are murky. I don't know how to explain that, but like it's really easy to slip. Like I don't mind as a proposal manager occasionally working a little bit late to get something done if I'm like I had a really great idea at the last minute. But my boundary would be not doing it every time. And like I am entitled to move that boundary when I need to. And that makes it so like keeping that rigidity makes it so murky. But if the root cause of that boundary is like related to quality or creativity, it makes so much more sense of like why I'm willing to work a little bit late on some assignments and not others.
Yeah, and it could be too, right? You look at what's possible, and what I was going to do was to watch TV. And now I've chosen, right, that I want to get this done. So I'm going to put in a little extra effort. And it frees me up to spend more time with my family this weekend, right? Or something like that. So it becomes this negotiation with ourselves. It's okay. It's fine to change your boundary if you're the one changing it. It is not fine to change your boundary if other people are riding all over you to change your boundary.
Right. I think there's just that pressure of like, well, you did it once. Why don't you do it again? Which
Yeah.
is other people putting that pressure on you. It's so tricky.
Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah. So I think boundaries is, I think a lot of us think we need to be better at managing our time or get more organized or whatever, but it really doesn't have anything to do with that. It's being really clear on what we want or why we're doing something, and then having the courage to take other people's expectations or that fear or whatever and say, yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with disappointing this person because they're the ones who had the expectation, not me. And our culture and our team dynamics can really sabotage what we're thinking are our boundaries.
But they can be rebuilt when we start talking about things and
Yeah,
setting
yeah,
those
yeah, it
boundaries.
can change for sure.
I
I
think
mean,
that's
you
what we
look
should
at how
go
much a
for.
company look how much a company changes when one leader like leaves and another one comes in. It has a massive impact on how the company operates, and it can be really good or really bad, or somewhere in the middle. So
Yeah,
I think for me, the biggest thing isn't that you need to perfectly uphold your boundaries. It's that your boundaries are in alignment with who you want to be. There is no perfection here. You're never gonna hold your boundaries 100% of the time, but we can hold them more. And you're always saying no to something if you say yes to something that you don't want to do.
true. Very true.
Anything else to add?
I don't think so. I feel a little bit inspired to go reset some boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely need a little bit of that myself, I think. This was a good topic for both of us.
I think we all do. I love that people are like, oh, you talk about burnout all the time. You must have it so figured out, as if I don't burn out regularly. I'm just much better. I think we're both much better at spotting it and seeing the cycle, but we're not so much better at not burning out, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit, but we're not, we're
Well,
human.
I think you're able to work out of it better, or even just have the understanding of the boundary and like, yeah, okay, I'm choosing to let this boundary go versus
Right.
like I have to bend my boundary.
It's all practice. I have bent my boundaries recently. I need to practice putting them back in place.
Yeah. All right. Well, you ready for our burning question?
Bring it on.
And now it's time for burning questions.
So this question came from somebody whose company has grown quickly recently. They're not staffed where they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
I've brought some new people on who are ramping up. They find themselves stepping in to fill in the gaps.
Got it.
So the question was, I keep finding myself staying late and picking up tasks that aren't technically mine because it feels easier than dealing with the friction of pushing back. How do you start shifting that dynamic without creating conflict?
Yikes.
So easy to do. I mean, I've had this happen recently with employees leaving. As the team leader, you just step in and pick up their projects. So there is a lot of extra things that I'm doing right now that wouldn't typically, they wouldn't have been mine if I still had the two employees.
I feel like I see this a lot in marketing teams. It manifests as the I'll just do it mentality. I don't have a better word for that or a better phrase for that,
The
but
Nike,
it's
Nike,
usually you what?
it's the Nike mentality.
Yeah, the Nike mentality. Don't sue us, Nike. But the idea, it's usually I see it when there's like an experienced marketing manager, marketing coordinator, and someone newer, and that newer person like doesn't know what the next step is or doesn't know how to take whatever they're doing from like where it is to where it needs to be. And it will take longer to teach them in that moment than it would to just do it. And so I see often senior roles just picking up those tasks or those slack because they'll just knock it out. It'll take 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, whatever it is. But then they're stuck holding that because they never trained this person and like they've totally destroyed that boundary. And so it becomes I think it goes back to that tracking of, you know, what am I actually responsible for? What is impactful? What is urgent? And then starting to figure out where you can delegate, where you can train, where you need to hire, talking to leadership. Like there's a gap. I understand that there's really nowhere to shuffle it off to, but is there a way to spread it around so it's not one person taking on two people's jobs? So
Yeah, engineers are really good at that also. I'm just going to do it because it'll take me too long to train somebody.
I don't think it's marketing or engineering. I don't think it's even AEC exclusive. I think it's just a level of like experience. I know how to do this. It's going to take me a few seconds. Like one of my business partners used to do this to me, and then they left, and I'm stuck here like holding the bag, trying to figure out what on earth and how on earth they like set things up, why they did things the way they did, because nobody taught me. So
Yeah.
it's rough. It's hard.
It does, and in the short term, there's some pain there, right? To take the time to
Mhm.
train. But think about how quickly it will go if you can just say, go do this, and know how to do it and they go do it, right? Like that's so quick. And that's where we can get to if we invest that time.
Exactly.
The other part of this is, creating friction, pushing back, the kind of fear-based creating conflict ideas. I probably talk about this way too often, but even just the idea of conflict implies that something bad is going to happen and it changes our interaction with people. So if we can get out of the idea of thinking of things as conflict, I think it would help a lot of us, just I'm speaking up for what I need right now, right? Go back to those 3 Ps. What am I protecting? What am I preserving? What are the possibilities? And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm not trying to create conflict. I'm just protecting my boundaries. And, I'm sorry if you don't like that.
That that does feel like a culture issue. The way this question is phrased, it feels like there's an underlying culture
Yeah, for sure.
concern there, which if you don't feel like you can speak up and say, I've been staying late and this is what I've been doing and it's no longer sustainable, if you can't say that, maybe that's not somewhere you want to be. Or if you can't say that, to your point, maybe you need to take a look at what you're so afraid of. And if you're making that up, if it lives in your head.
Yeah, because it could be even from previous, like it's happened to you before. And so you're gun shy about doing it again. That
Mm,
doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen again. Like you could have caught that person on a bad day or they, had a bunch of stuff going on and maybe this time they're more open to the conversation. So we don't know until we do.
exactly.
But if I walk into talk to my boss and I'm all tense and oh boy, how's this going to go? Like he's going to pick up on that right away and then he's going to be like, what's going on with Jeff? Now I need to start, well, like this doesn't look good. Let me start putting up my own defenses here and now we're just battling.
Right. Yeah. Then you're just mirroring each other's like fear and anxiety and tension. And that's no good for anybody.
No. All right. You think we answered their question?
I think we did.
And
Which
acknowledge
I,
yourself, even if it doesn't go the way that you wanted it to go. Acknowledge yourself for having the courage to do it.
and that gives you data, right?
Yeah.
To try again in the future, have a different conversation, try it a different way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a
It could be
learning
just changing your
experience.
approach.
It's just practice. Everything is practice.
Yeah.
Well, I think that concludes our episode on boundaries. So, friendly reminder to our listeners, if you have a burning question, you can email it to us at burnoutbanter@gmail.com. Please remember to like or subscribe to the podcast on Amazon, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to make sure that you never miss an episode. And finally, if you are struggling or your organization is struggling with burnout and stress management, Jeff and I offer in-house coaching to help your staff get back on track. You can reach out to us at burnoutbanter@gmail.com or via LinkedIn for personalized support tailored to your team's needs.
All right. Well, now we can get you back to your weekend or your Friday afternoon off.
I am going to exercise that boundary so hard. I am done. Computer's going off. We're going to go rest.
Very good. All right. We'll see everybody next month.
Take care, y'all.